In 2025, Bankrate looked at all 50 states and ranked Florida number 41 for livability. Not 15, not 25. 41. And if you're one of the millions of Americans who moved to Florida in the last 5 years, or you're packing boxes right now to head south, that number should stop you cold. Because the insurance crisis alone is bleeding Florida homeowners over $6,000 a year. One state on this list has seen so many insurers flee that the government had to become the insurance company. And the housing market that everyone said would never slow down? Inventory is piling up so fast in some Florida cities that sellers are cutting prices every single week. But the part that nobody's talking about is the one that should scare you most. We'll get to it. If this is your first time here, we break down the real data on where Americans should and shouldn't be putting down roots. Subscribe so you don't end up learning this stuff the hard way. Now, let's talk about the state that sold you a dream. Florida's pitch is one of the best in the country, and honestly, on paper, it still looks incredible. No state income tax, 300 days of sunshine a year, beaches that people fly thousands of miles to visit. During the pandemic, when remote work became the norm and millions of Americans suddenly realized they could live anywhere, Florida was the obvious choice. From 2020 to 2023, over 700,000 people moved to Florida on a net basis. That is not a migration. That is a stampede. The real estate market responded exactly as you would expect. Home prices in Tampa jumped over 50%. Jacksonville, Orlando, Cape Coral, they all exploded. People were buying sight unseen, waiving inspections, paying $80,000 over asking price on houses they would only have seen in photos. The sunshine tax, people called it. The price of paradise. But here is what that paradise actually costs when you look past the Instagram posts and the real estate agent's sales pitch. The average Florida homeowner now pays over $6,000 a year for property insurance. That is roughly triple the national average. And that number assumes you can even get a policy. Since 2020, dozens of private insurers have either pulled out of Florida entirely or gone insolvent. Companies like FedNat, Western, Southern Fidelity just stopped writing policies and left hundreds of thousands of homeowners scrambling for coverage. So what happens when private insurance companies won't touch your state? The government steps in. Citizens. Property insurance, Florida's state-backed insurer of last resort, now covers more than 1.2 million policies. That is not how a healthy insurance market works. That is a fire alarm going off in a building where everyone is pretending they don't smell smoke. And those are just the averages. If your home is anywhere near the coast in Miami-Dade County, in Pinellas County along Tampa Bay, or down in the Keys, your premiums could easily hit $10,000 or $15,000 a year. Think about that for a second. That is a car payment on top of your mortgage every single month, just for the privilege of hoping a hurricane doesn't rearrange your living room. But the insurance crisis is only the starting gun. Because the housing market that was supposed to be Florida's golden goose is showing cracks that the local news barely mentions. According to Redfin data from late 2024 and early 2025, Florida cities are dominating the national list of markets where inventory is surging. Tampa, Jacksonville, Orlando, Cape Coral, they all show active listings climbing 30 to 50% year over year. Homes that used to sell in a weekend are now sitting for 60, 70, 80 days on the market in some zip codes. Price cuts are becoming routine. In parts of Northport and Cape Coral, nearly half of all active listings have had at least one price reduction. And here's the part that should genuinely make you angry if you bought during the pandemic boom. Many of those homeowners are now trapped. They purchased at peak prices in 2021 and 2022, and the combination of rising insurance costs, higher property taxes, and a cooling market means they cannot sell without taking a significant loss. Some are watching their equity evaporate in real time while their monthly costs keep climbing. It is the opposite of the wealth-building machine that Florida real estate was supposed to be. But the condo market might be in even worse shape. After the Surfside building collapse in 2021 that killed 98 people near Miami Beach, Florida passed new laws requiring condo associations to conduct structural inspections and fund reserves for major repairs. That sounds like common sense, but the result is that condo owners across the state are now facing special assessments of $50,000, $80,000, sometimes over $100,000 per unit. Older condos near the coast that were already struggling with insurance are now essentially unsellable. Listings are sitting, prices are cratering, and owners who bought their retirement dream are stuck holding a depreciating asset with a six-figure repair bill attached. If this is clicking for you and you want to see more deep dives like this, hit subscribe. We put out a new breakdown every week. Now here's where the data gets really uncomfortable for the people who still insist Florida is booming. For the first time in over a decade, the migration story is shifting. Census data shows that Florida's net domestic migration, the number of Americans moving in minus the number moving out, has slowed dramatically from its pandemic peak. And in several metro areas, the trend line is tilting toward outflow. It is not a mass exodus yet, but the momentum has reversed, and the people leaving are not who you'd expect. They are not retirees going home. They are working-age professionals and young families. The exact demographic Florida needs to sustain its tax base. Because remember, Florida has no income tax. The state funds itself primarily through sales tax and property tax. When high-earning residents leave and housing values soften, that revenue model gets squeezed from both ends. And where are they going? The data points towards states like North Carolina, Tennessee, and even back to states like Ohio and Pennsylvania. Places that cost less than Florida does once you factor in insurance, property taxes, and the rising cost of just keeping a roof over your head in hurricane country. The no income tax savings that everyone moves for a family earning $100,000, that might save you $4,000 to $5,000 a year depending on the state you left. But if your insurance is $6,000 higher, your property tax assessment jumped because your county needs the revenue, and your flood insurance adds another $2,500. The math doesn't work. You moved to Florida to save money, and you're paying more than you did in New Jersey. The irony would be funny if it wasn't wrecking people's finances. But the financial pain is just the part you can measure with spreadsheets. What's harder to quantify is what is physically happening to the state around you. South Florida's freshwater supply is under siege from saltwater intrusion. As sea levels rise, salt water pushes into the porous limestone aquifer that provides drinking water to millions of residents from Miami to Palm Beach. Municipalities are spending hundreds of millions to build desalination capacity and relocate well fields, and that cost gets passed directly to residents through their water bills. The flooding is getting worse too. Coastal neighborhoods in Fort Lauderdale, Miami Beach, and parts of Tampa are experiencing tidal flooding events on sunny days with no storm in sight. Streets that were dry 10 years ago now flood during king tides. The infrastructure was not built for this. Storm drains overflow. Roads buckle, and the repair bills keep stacking up in municipal budgets that were already stretched thin. It paints a picture that most real estate listings will never show you. The state's roads and bridges carry billions of dollars in deferred maintenance. School buildings in counties across the state need major renovation. And the property insurance crisis means that even routine damage from a moderate storm can leave homeowners waiting months for claims to process if their insurer is still in business at all. So when Bankrate ranked Florida 41st in the country for livability in 2025, the number is not some coastal media hit piece. It is a reflection of what affordability, safety, and quality of life metrics actually look like when you strip away the palm trees and the sunset photos. States like Minnesota, Iowa, and Nebraska ranked significantly higher. Not because they have better weather, because the total cost of living there, including insurance, including infrastructure, including the odds that your house won't be underwater in 10 years, is dramatically lower. And that is the conversation Florida boosters do not want you to have. They want you comparing income tax rates. They do not want you comparing the full picture. If you are currently living in Florida and watching your costs climb every year, you are not imagining it. The data confirms what your bank account already told you. And if you're thinking about moving to Florida because someone told you it's the smartest financial move in America, run the real numbers first. Not the ones on the brochure, the ones on the insurance quote, the condo assessment, and the flood zone map. Now, Florida is not the only state where the affordable paradise story is falling apart. In the next video, we're pulling the same data on California because the numbers coming out right now might be even more surprising than what you just saw. Click the video on screen so you don't miss it.